All right, we're back. Judd'z Budz, episode 155. Wayne Gretzky plus the Hall of Famer Eric Holla. As always, your host, Spoke Z, joined by my good buddy, Mr. S. State of Hoppy. How we doing?
We're doing all right. We're still drinking Tourney Flow, which everyone should go grab from Lupulin before it runs out. But it's always weird having St. Patty's Day be on like a weekday.
Mm-hmm.
Because
well, funny here.
Really, Saturday was St. Patty's Day for Minnesotans.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's Boston, so it pretty much like starts like Thursday night, and let's just go on for like several days. Fun fact: last year, Southie was so out of control, like got to the point where they're like, we've basically like, there's just no rules right now. Like it was complete fucking anarchy. So like, this year they moved the parade up to 11 a.m. because it started at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's like in Boston is psychotic. That's way too much time for like a million people to get buckled.
What do they think that moving to 11 a.m. is going to solve?
It's less time for. It's just like it ends earlier because they also shut down Southie at like 6. So like the bars all closed because it's just like it's mayhem. Like it's fucking insane. I would like it's like out of control to the point where I couldn't be less interested in going. I never go down there.
You're daring them to just start drinking sooner. Like what? It's literally extending their drinking day. What?
Yeah, I think it was literally just shut. Like they want the parade over by 1 o'clock or like 1:30, and then like start the process of closing everything down. Because like last year it was just like legitimately insane. It like, but like, dude, it's so funny. Just like Boston for St. Patrick's fucking weekend, not even day. Like, there's just like so many kids running around like from like fucking, I don't know, Hingham, some like rich town, and like all of a sudden they're like dropping their R's and they're like, oh fucking Southie. I was like, oh Jesus, like it's I'm thinking they start drinking. It's like all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I'm Boston through and through, motherfucker. It's like, oh God, like this is insane. Like people who are not from here all of a sudden just take on this like ridiculous cartoon persona, and it's like very annoying, but it's also very funny. But it's fucking chaos here. And like, yeah, technically today's St. Patrick's Day, but like, I mean, the debauchery that's been going on all weekend is very, very real. But it was just funny that like we're moving everything up 2 hours in Southie because last year, like again, it was like legitimate. Like, are we gonna have to? But of course, this year though, there were videos like cops were just drinking like, on the street. I was like, Jesus Christ,
that's pretty good. No,
like just ripping shots, and the people on the sidewalk were like, yeah. It was so funny.
Perhaps a controversial take, but I'd argue that Boston is not like the St. Patrick's Day capital of the U.S.
You say Chicago?
No, Mobile.
Oh my God.
Mobile, Alabama. That video will never not be the first thing that comes to my mind on St. Patrick's Day. The greatest sketch, video that's the sketch is my favorite part for sure, but there's a lot of good parts. Like you could argue that there's a lot of things in there that are pretty elite. But yes, their reaction at the very end too. That amateur sketch was great, huh?
I like when it goes back to their faces. They're like, I want the gold. Could be a crackhead. Stuff. It's an insane video. I cannot believe a full segment for the news.
It's literally the only thing I know about Mobile, Alabama. So,
oh, it's good stuff. Oh man,
say yeah.
St. Patrick's Day. Jesus Christ, what a fucking holiday.
Yeah, but full show today. We've got some nonsense NHL topics. We've got sadness for the Minnesota Wild, a couple Wild prospects, and then a full top 10 list of Swedish draft eligibles for the 2025 NHL draft. Let's kick it off. Start with NHL stuff. Ovi's still a sicko, clearly, and 8 away now, which like that feels like the magic number. Whoever plays him next, watch out, because Ovi needs 8 to pass Wayne Gretzky. Outside chance, but still a possibility he accomplishes that feat in Minnesota, and I'm probably in rare company where I would absolutely love that. That's like, please. That's a piece of history that like I don't see as embarrassing at all. Like he's gonna score against someone. It'd be even better though if it's on an empty net. But
yeah, that would be. Imagine like a diving block on an empty net to rough out. Like I think Wilson would jump over the boards and just fucking go nuts.
He murders Brock Faber.
Yeah. It would be Hartman though. It would be Hartman doing that. Yeah, I mean 8 away. I pulled up their schedule earlier. They've got 4 games before they play the Wild. They're at home against Detroit tomorrow. Then they're at home versus Philly on Thursday, then at home against Florida Saturday, and at Winnipeg next Tuesday before coming to Minnesota. It's like I'm looking at the next 2, so like Detroit and Philly. If like let's say he just does the Ovechkin and gets like a hat trick or 4 goals in one of those games, then I'm like, buckle up, because people forget. I mean, like it's not like he has to be 1 away by the time he comes to Minnesota. It's like he could fucking put up a hat trick. He could put up a hat trick. Yeah. It is just insane what this mother like the fact that he's like 40 fucking years old, 38, 39, 40, however fucking old he is, and he's like he breaks his leg, his first major injury, comes back like several weeks early and just like looks better. He's like a complete mutant. It's insane. But like you said, I really do want it to happen in Minnesota, and just imagine being in the building for that. Oh God, that would be incredible. But it's just insane what he's doing. Again, like at his age, his play style, which isn't like he is like a bull in a china shop running around game in, game out. I like the fact that it's when he's not moving that he scores the most goals. He's like straight legged at the dot. It's unbelievable. Like I used to always just ISO cam him whenever they had to play. Like they had like a 4-year streak where they would kick the ever living dog shit out of the Boston Bruins, like every game by 4 or 5 goals. Like the Bruins would forget how to play hockey, and 4 guys would get injured because they were so soft. I don't know what happened, but it was just 4 years of just absolute shit kickings at the hands of the Capitals, and they would get like 12 power plays a game. And I would literally just because I'd have the puck in the zone for the whole power play, and I would zoom in on fucking Ovechkin. There was one he took 2 strides in 2 minutes. 2 fucking strides. And it was, other than that, like at one point he took his hand off the stick and like stretched. I was like, Jesus Christ. And of course, right at the end, he tucked. And I was like, this is unbelievable. What a fucking dick. This is crazy. But like, again, just the fact that he's doing this after his first like big injury. And like, it's insane.
For me, it's too, like, yes, it's the age, the injury, whatever. He looked bad last year. Like everyone was so convinced he was locked to beat Gretzky. And then last year, everyone slammed the brakes and everyone's like, yeah, there's no chance he catches Gretzky. And then all it takes is like a month of this season. Everyone's like, so when is he breaking it this year? Like after people famously forget, Sandin this summer was like, yeah, probably sometime next year. Like, bro, what? Who was the other teammate there who like looks over and like, what did you just say?
I can't remember, it was like Faravari or someone else, but they were like, say this, what are you doing?
Just like, bro, what? And they never saw him again.
They never saw him again.
So that's good for Ovi.
Crazy, dude. Like a record I honestly thought would never get broken like 5 years ago.
And this one won't be, because the only player that's even got the chops is Matthews, and like it's still going to be a tall order for him to chase Ovi. If anyone's going to do it, it is him. But like, do you see anyone else that even has a chicken stick chance? Like just off of talent, like I don't think anyone can have the consistency year in, year out, stay healthy, score all the goals. Like Matthews is the only one, and I think he's going to have maybe questions staying healthy.
Yeah, it could, like, because obviously what he's doing now is insane. This is his goal totals. His first 5 years in the NHL.
I've got his entire career down on a sheet.
Yeah, I
I
have it up right here. But like, sees his rookie year, 52 goals. His second year, 46. Third year, 65. Fourth year, 56. Fifth year, 50. Like, you have to get off to that hot of a start in your career to sniff this record, and it's crazy. Like, it's not possible. But like, it's just what this like. This shot total was so funny too. In 2009, he took a 528 shot. This is crazy.
The shot and hit combo is always good, but like in in the existence of the Minnesota Wild's franchise, there have been, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times that the Wild's leading goal scorer has outscored Ovechkin. 4 of those were before he was in the league. Yeah. That's a fun one. Gabrick had 30 in 01-02 and Ovechkin had 0. What a bum. Some of the Wild leading scorers were crazy to read too. I'm going to put a whole thing together next week before that game. But it's a doozy. Up until the Kaprizov stretch for the last 5 years, like, holy shit, dude, it's bad.
Right.
Yeah, that's fun. All right. Well, more fun topics.
Well, real quick though, Cosgrove just asked, like,
yeah.
There's a real possibility we have one dude score 50 goals this year. Draisaitl's on 49. The next closest is Nylander with 37.
Which, how awesome is it that Nylander's too?
Yeah, I love that for him. That's crazy. Like, there's just so few guys. Like, I mean, the last few years, there's been like
cyclical, and I mean,
50, and like there have been some where like that guy scored 50 this year. Like, it was always like there's always been a couple like sneaky 50.
Let's be real though.
But it's just crazy this year.
In a fake world where Kaprizov doesn't get injured, he hits 50 this year.
Yeah, probably. I mean, like,
he's still leading the team with 23, and he's been out for 3 months. Like, come on.
Yeah, we'll get there. I'm like scared for us to enter just based on the replies I've been getting to like the videos I've been throwing out there. I'm legitimately scared to do when we get to Wild Topics. The depression's hit hard. Like it's been like we were good, but it's Minnesota. Let's wait for the dam to burst, and it burst. And oh my god, some of the sad tweets, like not even angry, just like sad. I'm like, oh, fuck, we are so back.
It's so weird how torn I am because like half of the things that are being said I wholeheartedly agree with, and half the things that are being said I just want to like remove someone's access to Twitter because it's insane. But like
we'll get there.
It is a lot. Yeah, we'll get into the Wild here in a little bit. Couple interesting topics. First one, everyone knows that Cale Makar is an absolute freak of nature. Everyone knows how much we admire him on this show. I still think he's number 1 player in the league that I'd want on my team if I was building a team from scratch. I'm in a slight minority there, but still. He had another unreal game, of course, and it's magnified because it's the 2 juggernauts of the West now, Colorado and Dallas, and the Rantanen stories, whatever. Gets asked on TNT after the game by Colby Armstrong, what planet are you from?
It's a valid question. I mean,
but it's even better that he didn't know how to answer it. He's like, I'm gonna have to think about that one. I'm like, that's a great answer.
I don't know where I don't know what planet I was born on. I mean, like it's just great. Like 68 games, 25 goals, 78 points. Like in his career, he's played 383 games. He's 414 points plus 133. Like it's terrifying that he somehow can. It's terrifying that he actually does somehow get better every year to the point where like I don't think he can. Like how is he going to improve on last year's season? And then he's like, watch this shit. Like people forget the beginning of the season because now they've just been on a tear for so long, and obviously they make a big they made a bunch of moves here. The start of the season for Colorado was fucking ass. But one guy that at no point was struggling whatsoever was Cale Makar. Like he's been in the top of the league in scoring. He went like 5 games where he wasn't playing great.
Well, there was a stretch where the defense wasn't as elite as it's been, right? Like it's the first time he's actually shown a wrinkle in that department, though, because I've like stood on it when people fight me on it. I'm like, the way this guy can actually defend and the offense that he generates and like everything he can do in transition game, whatever. This is the first year where people were like pulling up receipts, like, oh, he can play defense. I'm like, fine, whatever. But like he has largely been awesome. But there was like a good month there where like, if you want to get into the analytics stuff, like he was definitely struggling a bit, especially compared to his standard, but even compared to like league average, he was questionable. But he has very much rounded that out. So
yeah, I'd say so. It's just
I wouldn't
he's
trade
ridiculous, dude. Like I like watching him play. When him and McKinnon are on the ice at the same time, it's legitimately unfair. It's two of the same player, except like McKinnon's more violent. Like he gets fucking high stepping through the neutral zone like a fucking Clydesdale. It's just like, oh shit. Or like the Pietrangelo mic'd up when they had the outdoor game. Though, it's just crazy. Like I don't understand how it's possible, and it's so fun to watch though, and it infuriates me because it's Colorado. So
I just thought of this as you were saying that now. You know how there's always the discussion of like the unstoppable force meets the immovable object? I need Nathan McKinnon high stepping, going in and trying to get the puck, and Cale Makar reverse hitting him and seeing what the result is. Like who comes out ahead on that? Because I genuinely don't know for the life of me what would happen there. I think we would all of a sudden a black hole opens and we all just get sucked in.
It's also funny because McKinnon's like, yeah, no, Makar's the other one I don't yell at because he's like kind of scary. I'm like, oh fuck, that's crazy. You just said so good. He's like, yeah, I don't yell at Cale. Like,
I yell at everyone except Cale.
Except Cale. I mean, I'm not.
Are you sure he wasn't talking about like the weird like diet Crosby has him on?
No, I heard it out of context. So in my head, it's just funnier the way that I'm picturing it. Like he's just getting after everyone in the locker room on the bench, but then Cale's just like, shut the fuck up. Kind of like there's always the stories about like Malkin and Crosby going nuts, and then Letang would be like, hey, shut the fuck up, and they're like, yep. No problem. Except for Malkin, he doesn't give a fuck about anyone. Like, he doesn't care.
No English. No, your interpretation was absolutely correct. I was going on a tangent. All right. You'll argue that the story that you posted about is better. I love this one, though. So apparently going into a game, the boys, Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith, the duo that we never knew how much we needed, they go to Toffoli and tell him, hey, if we all score today, you got to come to the sleepover. He's like, no, what? No, I'm not going to do that. They're like, if we all score, you got to come to the sleepover. And like, finally he's like, whatever. And like casually agreed, scores a goal late in the game and has no idea the other two have scored, forgot all about the agreement, but they all scored. And Toffoli had to go do a sleepover with the rookies. I love everything about this. Just like the fact that they like want Toffoli to come to their sleepover, the fact that like it all came together the way it did. The vibes are through the roof. I need to come up with like a better sleepover trio though. Like give me 2 young players making a vet come in for a slumber party. Like what's the most chaotic one we could get? We can think on that, but like overall impressions of just Toffoli vibes.
I also love that Celebrini and Smith had the actual beds and Toffoli was stuck on like the cot, like the piece of shit. But like, yeah, like also just like the text to his wife, I have to have a sleepover with Will Mac, LOL. She's like, what? He goes, we agreed, LOL. And like every text ends with LOL, and then fucking she like was like, I didn't know he was serious. It was just very funny, but like
in fairness, all the LOLs, I wouldn't know that he was serious either.
No, I know. But like I remember when he signed there this summer, it was one of the ones where it was like pretty confusing. So I was like, man, like he is still someone that's just gonna give you 25 goals easy. He can play like first line, second line, whatever. He's gonna score. There should be a lot of teams that are playoff teams who should go out and sign him for not crazy money. And it's also like, what is this be like waste away in San Jose? But like when we've talked about other teams in the past, like Anaheim, like going out and finding like vets in the league to play with the young guys. Like this is like Tyler Toffoli to San Jose is like the epitome of what I think these teams are trying to accomplish in a lot of that. And he was the perfect fit. Because again, regardless of who he plays with, he's giving you 25 goals. And he's been around the league forever. Mm-hmm. He like is just obviously a great teammate. So like on like the more serious side of this, it's like that's the reason that they go out and make a sign like that, even though they obviously have 0 cup aspirations this year. He's such a good player to have in like in your room. So but it was just that was a very funny picture though.
No, I agree with you 100%. I actually was surprised that he was willing to take on that role. Like with how much he's like been the traveling henchman and like gets pulled into whoever's trying to make a boost going on a cup run. Like I didn't expect him to settle for, hey, give me the bag and let me come in and, you know, play with a team that needs veteran leadership. Like it's awesome that he has adapted to that and he's on board with it. Like he signed up for it. It wasn't a surprise to him. It's not like Seth Jones who signs in Chicago and thinks that they're still going to try and compete. And then all of a sudden within a year, they're tearing it down. Like he knew what he signed up for and he's like stepped in, embraced the role and done great. And yeah, awesome find for the Sharks, but also I'd argue there's a little bit of luck that goes in with it just happening to work and him being the right like mindset going into it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally.
Unlike Bertuzzi, who pretty sure he just like looks the other way when Bedard gets mauled. Like
he's like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah, but no, love the vibes there. Z, I'll let you take this next one. I'm just gonna step back and just talk to me about Sergachev and chickens versus Nick Bjugstad.
I can't get enough of this tweet. Bell Fraser covers Utah, tweeted out, Mikhail Sergachev has been bringing eggs from his backyard chicken coop to the team. I just have a lot of eggs. Once we hit like 24 or 30 eggs, I start giving them away to my teammates. Obviously, I feed them well. I take care of them. Now there's a sort of shortage of eggs, so guys appreciate it more. Then she quote tweets it. Sergachev said Bjugstad told to make sure his chickens didn't have the bird flu. Quote, it's insane. He disrespected my chickens like that. I still gave him eggs because he said his wife went to the store and there were no eggs. That's going to go down as Spokesy's NHL quote of the year, specifically just the beginning where he says, it's insane. He disrespected my chickens like that. So good guy, Mikhail Sergachev. Another great offseason move that a team made was going out and picking him up or like whatever, making that move for him. That was outrageously funny. Like just the disrespecting my chickens. Like he was disgusted about that. He would even suggest that they may have bird flu. And you know, Nick Bjugstad is like just like probably very serious. Like, oh, just make sure they don't have bird flu. But he's like, fuck you.
Bugie's so cool, but like I want to see the video of Sergachev saying it because I need to know, like, was he like dead serious, like Russian stare down, or is he like playing into it and being like, it's insane? He thinks like,
oh yeah, no, he yeah.
I don't know because I could see it either way, right?
Yeah, it's still funny, like either way. But like when I read he disrespected my chickens like that, I lost my mind. I was in tears.
If he started like a what is it? Range, like what are the healthy chickens? I forget now. Like free range. If he started like a free range chicken, like distributing eggs and called it insane disrespect, I would buy all of them. Yeah. I'd definitely buy the apparel that comes with it.
I also love when you find out little fun facts about these players. Like Mikhail Sergachev has a backyard chicken coop. Like Getzlaf during COVID made like made a chicken or like build a chicken coop for his family, like which was also very funny because it was Ryan fucking Getzlaf. But like, just like imagining them going out there and like tending to their chickens is so funny.
But, dude, imagine this though. Me as like, I don't remember if I was like 10 or 12. No, probably would have been like 12, 13, something like that. All of a sudden on the news, because like my parents had the news on, they're doing a feature on like Wild rookie Brent Burns, or maybe he wasn't a rookie, maybe he was like a second-year guy, and it's literally them doing a tour of his house showing all of his animals. And I'm not kidding, dude. It broke my brain. I'm like, who is this mutant of a human? Like, he's showing like endless dogs and cats, whatever. He goes into a room that has like literally like bins and cubbies along an entire wall of all of his different reptiles. And he's like pulling out his snakes one by one, talking about them. Like, what? Huh? And this is pre-caveman vibe too. Like, this is like, he has no hair, no facial hair, like baby face. Just like, oh, hey, here's my snake. And now we see him full beard, crazy man doing his Walmart workouts, like full circle, like looking back. It's like, oh yeah, that's like the most tame thing he's done. But at the time I'm like, wait, this guy plays for the Wild. He has like over 100 pets just like in his normal Minnesota residence. Like, what the fuck? It was crazy.
Incredible. It is.
Incredible. I love it. But yeah, that it's all great. These are this is definitely a top 5 week of just random stupid NHL topics that we've had. Mm-hmm. Usually we got to grasp at straws, and this week it was like, nope, here it is on a platter. I'm not even going to look for more. With that, then let's turn it over to sadness. Z, let's talk Minnesota Wild. And actually, before we talk Minnesota Wild, let's talk Boston Bruins, because they their deadline was criticized by a lot of fans, and they pulled in a bona fide goal scorer. Talk about it.
Yeah. First of all, I have to say this every time now, but I don't take anyone serious who suggests that like their deadline should be criticized. Like, I get the Marchand thing, but like
it was mostly
they chose a direction. They pulled in some really nice assets, including guys that could play now,
including a second-round pick in like 5 years.
Yeah, yeah. It's just the March thing again. Obviously, people are gonna be upset about it, but it is what it is. But yeah, Murat Huzadinov in Boston has been really good. Now, after last week, they played Florida and they played Tampa Bay the first 2 games and like played really well, and it was great, and like they won those games. Yeah, they're back to being one of the worst hockey teams I've ever watched in my life. Oh my god, are they atrocious? They had 0 shot attempts the other night in the second period against Tampa Bay. Like, I mean, just a complete shit kicking. Or the third period, I can't remember which one. But it's bad again. They're really bad. Like, they're a very bad hockey team. But Murat is just given an elevated role. He's playing a lot more minutes. He's playing on the third line. He's in the wing, and he's getting a lot more offensive looks. Now he's got 2 goals, which doubled his season total. That being said, it's 2 shot attempts. He has 2 goals. Like that's a very key thing to remember. Is he's still shooting the exact same amount?
100%. That's 100%.
He's shooting 100% right now in Boston.
You know, Gretzky. How do we turn that into a Huzadinov quote? Like, instead of you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, we're gonna make your next quote T-shirt just be Murat Huzadinov. You make 100% of the shots you do take.
Oh God.
Do it.
Rocky number 92.
I know you'll do it. Send me one. Send me an XL. Thank you.
I'll probably have some kind of Huzadinov apparel that I drink a million beers and design. But it's fascinating. He's playing right now on a line. It's him with Lauko and Elias Lindholm, which is weird. The most ridiculous line I think I've ever seen constructed, and they're fucking awesome. Dude.
What if you told, like, if I told you, let's say, like, in August, that was eventually going to be a line for the Boston Bruins, what line would you assume it is? 1, 2, 3, or 4?
3.
Given the state of their center depth, I just it would be so hard for me to envision Lindholm being their 3C. Like I'm saying before this season started, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think in reality,
that's my only challenge with it.
There's a good chance that he's playing wing next year anyways.
Plus the Husnudinov excitement, like I might have been tricked into thinking they could have been a second line.
Right.
And you could have also gone to fourth because Husnudinov, if we said it a couple months ago, it's like, oh shit, Lindholm really fell off and it's the fourth line.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, again, though, like he's obviously playing third line minutes. He's being utilized not just defensively or for faceoffs, which I mean, even that was an adventure in its own right in Minnesota by the end. But I mean, he's playing like 13, 14, 15 minutes. He's getting offensive looks. That line specifically, like they are just a force as far as just like relentless pressure on the forecheck and winning pucks back and cycling pucks. And like he's clearly like taking this trade in stride, and his confidence level is just like that like 5-game streak that we saw in Minnesota right before the Four Nations, where he was legitimately just like dancing with the puck and like hitting people and like creating scoring chances. Like he's doing that almost every time he's touching the puck now. He looks incredibly comfortable, so it's been great. On the flip side, again, like when we talked about the trade for Brazeau, I was surprised that it was like all of those 3 assets just for Brazeau. This is the thing that drives me crazy about like the John Hines Wild is they really do not have any ability whatsoever to roll 4 lines, or he refuses to do it. Now, that being said, the last few games, hold on. They have had that fourth line actually look pretty good the last couple. And like Brasso, unfortunately, has just missed a couple tap-ins too. But he, like, if the idea was to bring in a big guy with good hands that can give you depth scoring, like he has to play at least 10 minutes. Like he has to. Like you're not going to get that fourth line to produce offense, especially if you're going to play in 5-6 minutes. It's just not going to happen. So that's why, like, for me, the big question mark with the trade is just like, I understand bringing in Brazeau. I understand, like, you know, moving on, like if you can bring something in for Lauko or Husnudinov, if you just like, obviously there's not going to be a really big opportunity for them. At least you don't see it that way in your lineup. But the like those pieces being traded for each other just made no sense whatsoever. Like if you're not going to roll fucking 4 lines and your fourth line's like really pigeonholed to like limited offensive looks, the guy you bring in is like Trennan, fourth line. Like or it's not Brazeau. Like, again, like he played the most in Boston with fucking Elias Lindholm and Brad Marchand. Like, that's when he was playing the most. That's when he scored. Like, that was his line. Like, so it doesn't really make sense to bring him in for your fourth line when, like, what you're asking him to do a lot of nights isn't, like, in his wheelhouse. Yeah. And he's not going to score. Like, if you're utilizing. It's like, at this point, I just feel bad because it's just, like, he's just getting shit on. And I get it because he's not producing. But, like, I don't see how this trade made sense as far as like who you're asking to do what. Like it just didn't make sense.
Very weird across the board. Yeah, it sucks. I don't know, but you're happy. You got your boy Marat, Piss Pistol. Who's nuts? D's nuts.
And I am officially worried because it doesn't sound like anyone's that close to returning from injury in Minnesota.
No, Brodeen's close.
Okay, Brodeen's close. Okay, at this point, I'm not even worried about the D anymore. I'm worried about this fucking offense.
Sure, but that's still like there's 3 big names that are out. Yeah. One, he said, mate. So Joe and I recorded earlier today the mailbag for this week, and said maybe Wednesday he plays, but he'd be surprised if he's not playing this weekend. But there is no update on Ek or Kaprizov as it currently stands. Like we don't know. We don't know. All we know is they're both expected back because like Guerin legitimately did not LTIR them because they're supposed to be back. He said the hope right now is like from last Tim and Russo heard is Kaprizov skating the final week of March, which means sometime that week or the first week of April, he's back. That's probably enough for him. And Ek, like, we just don't know. But Ek, at least, if he comes back for game 1 of the playoffs, I'm not worried about him shaking off the cobwebs and going. Kaprizov needs to be back. If he is not back the first game of April, I'm going to be worried.
Yeah.
That's where I stand, at least.
Yeah. It's just like, and again, like it goes back to that deadline thing too. And like, say, like they were so like restricted to the cap. They didn't want to do the LTIR shit, obviously. And it's like, it's just so funny that not funny, but like before the season started, we doing our prediction. Like if they could at least be not as injured as they were this past season. And they were like, oh yeah. Like you want to see some crazy shit?
They're like, let's show you a taste of what it could look like and make you all excited, and then be like, oh wait, just kidding.
Let us all get injured at the worst time, as painful as possible. So I mean, at this point, last 10, they're 3-6-1 their last. Okay,
D, let's address this. This is important. So Keith Williams asks, has the Wild ever used LTIR? Maybe it's an owner thing. Wild have used LTIR a ton. They've never to date used it going into the playoffs. And again, there's a lot that goes into that. So like for people that maybe aren't familiar, if you do LTIR and you're using that to like open up cap space for the remainder of the season, that player cannot come back in the regular season, period. Mm-hmm. And there are like spot checks done. Like people are watching. If you're ready to play, you're ready to play. You're out of LTIR by and large. The one, I mean, like Kane and Kucherov, maybe they were ready a week sooner and they found a way to like, you know, shimmy it, make it work. Like the Stone injury was a legitimate injury. Like he was hurt and timing worked out okay. For the Wild, I think they explored the idea, but when they know that Ek and Kaprizov are going to be back, how do you go to those players and be like, oh yeah, you're just going to chill for like a couple of weeks and, you know, we'll pull you back in as soon as the money's freed up. Like that's just not how it works. And whoever you're going to pick up for that money, you'd rather have Kaprizov in than that player. So really, if you want a big money, that was the only way to do it. With a guy like Ek, sure, it would have saved you $5 million. You could have brought in a supplemental player, but like really, are you going to give up the assets to bring in a meaningful player? Or is it just another guy that's going to be kind of a spot filler like a Nyquist, right? Like, I think I agree with Guerin that this was not the year to push the chips in completely. I just think that the moves he made were weird. Right. Like, he didn't do anything crazy. I'm not like freaking out about the Huzintinov trade. I'm not freaking out about giving up a second for Nyquist. It's just, why? Why even do it? You know? So the LTIR thing, I think if they thought that Ek or Kaprizov were going to be out up until the playoffs, they would have done it and they would have tried to make something happen. But they want to get these guys back because you're not going to find a replacement that's better than either of them, except for Brock Nelson, who, if you guys saw the asking price on him, if the Wild paid that, I would be furious. For the Avalanche, it makes sense because they can win the cup. The Wild cannot win the cup this year. Like they're just not built that way.
Yeah, you're not a Brock Nelson away from winning a Stanley Cup. Yeah.
Right. And for the Avalanche, the way they loaded up, I hate the trade long-term for them. Short-term, they crushed it. Like they had, in my mind, the best deadline, period. Mm-hmm. Now, 2 years from now, probably won't be saying that. But for this season in particular, if they think they can win it, I love what they did. So it's tough. Like, I understand the frustration, especially like Keith brought it up, right? Has the Wild ever done it? Like, there aren't many teams that have leveraged this because usually you're not in a position to do so. And this year, the Wild had a couple of options and it was clear that that wasn't going to be viable. Like these players are going to be back with a couple of weeks to go. It's not happening. So it sucks. I'm frustrated for a lot of reasons, but not leveraging the LTIR is probably not like what I'm going to lean on and be mad about. Now, if either of them are out up until the playoffs, maybe I'm a little bit irked, but I think a lot of it's unknowns. I don't think that there's any way for them to forecast that. And again, the price tags that we saw this trade deadline, I don't want to pay those for a team that like maybe you're hoping you can win the first round. Like that's just not worth it to me this season. Next year, completely different story. I have been a Bill Guerin defender since he got here. Next year, show me something or fuck off, period.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, at this point, because it's still, it's just frustrating given the fact that like knowing Bill Guerin, like how he operates, let's say the injuries weren't at least as bad as they've been this year, and they were still like just chugging along and in like contention for like that second seed or for whatever. Like, he would have made more moves. The money was just such a problem. The injury situation is legitimately insane. And like the fucking roster side shit. Like there's been so many different like impediments to like going out and making these moves this year, especially coming in. Like it was pretty unexpected that they were as hot as they were at one point. So but man, like last 10, they're 3-6-1. And I'll tell you, they just look gassed. Like the guys that are healthy, it seems like there's a bunch that are just running on fumes at this point. They can't score right now whatsoever. I mean, I pulled it up. Like, you got smoked 2 nights ago against St. Louis 5-1. You lose in overtime 3-2 to the Rangers. 2-1 shootout win against Colorado, which was great. Thanks, fucking Marty Natchez for that backhand sauce pizza. That was an insane pass. And I mean, you lose at Pittsburgh 3-1, Vancouver 3-1. Like the offense is just completely dried up to the point where, I mean, and like, by the way, if we're gonna go on the negatives, who's having a fucking great year? We've been shitting on for like 2 years now. Freddie Gaudreau now is 15-15. He's been
also Foligno too.
Like, Foligno's been great. Like there've been a couple guys unexpected.
Current state, people are still shitting on those contracts, and it's like, no, that's not the problem. It's that Guerin continues to double and triple and quadruple down on more and more of these guys. Like the Trennian signing is maddening. And sure, it's easy to say in hindsight because he hasn't quite panned out this year. It's nothing against him as a player. It's more, you have bolstered and overcommitted on this style of player. Why do you need to lock even more money in on yet another one of that same player? It doesn't make any sense to me. Then you go and add Brazeau and quadruple down. Like it's weird. Like I like all of the players individually. You got twice as many of them as you need. It's kind of like the Buffalo Sabres prospect pool. Like all of their prospects are sick. They all fill the exact same fucking need. Yeah. Like maybe we should do some swapping with the Sabres. Like take some of our depth guys, give us 1 or 2 of your sick prospects that you don't want. I would do horrible things for Zach Benson. Man, it's just things are down. Like basically we're banking on goaltending and blue line.
And it's looking bad. I mean, like Vancouver 6 points back. Well, they're in the second one, but St. Louis right now. So like, this is where it comes back to. Though.
3 days ago, it was a 10-point cushion to be out of the playoffs. They are losing it so fast.
Yeah, and when you, especially, I just like pulled up specifically just because they played the other night, the St. Louis thing, right? So the Wild schedule the rest of March. You've got LA, Seattle, Buffalo at home. Then you're in Dallas. Next night, you're back at home against Vegas. Then you play Washington. Then you play the Devils twice. Fucking St. Louis's schedule: Nashville, Vancouver, Chicago, Nashville, Montreal, Nashville, Colorado. Like, so dude, that's where like potentially like they've leaped you by the end of this month.
Dude, if Ryan Suter gets in and we don't,
I will lose my mind.
Now we're gonna get into prospect stuff later, but I gotta address a couple of these because I'm not sure I completely agree on some of it. So, like, here we go from Trav Zimmerman, which it looks like several people are agreeing. Realistically, Billy shouldn't sign Zeev until July. No need to burn a year off the ELC. Zero reason. The reason is he's not coming if you don't burn the year. If you make him wait until July, he's going to go back to college. Like, that is the lever that you pull to get these guys in. Am I crazy here, Z, for saying that? Like, I don't think there's a world where Zeev signs in July.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not. Plus, like, I was listening to my buddy Cam Robinson. He has a podcast with Chris Peters from Flow Hockey. And they were talking about William, like, they both agree, like, it's possible that he signs and, like, by the end of the season, obviously, and then legitimately has, like, not a significant major role, but a pretty substantial role even in the playoffs. And when you look at it now, I mean, we don't know what Eriksson, Ecker, Kaprizov are going to look like when they come back. I think it's I mean, we have like a pretty good idea, but like we can't guarantee anything, obviously. On this team that is absolutely starved for offense, if Zeev Bouillou can chip in a couple points here and there from the back end, that's fucking huge. Because
he's immediately
anywhere.
He's immediately your power play quarterback.
Right, that's the thing. You're probably throwing that power play, that first power play unit immediately. Like, this is like where we're at with this offense. Is like they have absolutely nothing.
But the other thing to consider too, that like I at times blank on, and I know a lot of fans blank on, or maybe are oblivious to altogether. Once the postseason hits, there is no salary cap. That's why the whole LTIR thing works. So the whole argument for like, oh, we're going to play this guy because we're paying him, that's out the fucking window. So like, yeah, to round out the end of the season, like they're going to give Zeev a couple games, and same thing like we saw with Faber, right? If things are going well enough, he'll keep playing. But come postseason, there's no dollars and cents rhyme or reason to who plays and who doesn't. You could easily see him in over a Merrill, over, whoever to play. And it's not going to be the same level of barrier that we've seen in the regular season, especially for a guy, unfortunately, like Jiricek, which I said it recording with Joe earlier today. I'm going to say it here. I feel like you probably agree with me, but I'll let you rebuttal if you want. I love the Jiricek trade value. You make that trade 9 out of 10 times, and the one time maybe you don't is when you're the Minnesota Wild and you just refuse to let him play. You're not going to give him time in Iowa. You're not going to give him time up here. Next season doesn't look much better for him. It's an awesome trade with bad timing.
Yeah, I mean, I think at that point you just pull the trigger on it because you're not going to wait. So there's going to be other teams that are going to want to move in. I guess there are other teams who like potentially even offer more or whatever, but yeah, I mean, at this point, it is frustrating. He's just sitting in the press box. Hasn't played since February 28th or something.
Well, it's not like he's not capable. We've seen him do decent.
He looked really good in the NHL, the small sample size that he had, especially when he came in at a time where they were like going just down murderer's row as far as opponents. At the start of their injury problem, and like there were a few games he was the one player that looked pretty good. But you're just getting nothing. Like no one's gaining anything from just sitting in the press box right now. I mean, I don't really know what. I've just let him go play in Iowa. I mean, I don't know. Like it's frustrating that he's just sitting there watching. But maybe it's a really weird season so far, like all around. But yeah, I am officially now worried about this, like whether or not they do make the playoffs, because it is far from a guarantee. And like again, the fact that they're playing this bad, they look this tired, and like they're 3-6 and won the last 10, while other teams are just like cooking right now too. It's scary.
And I will say, like there are people that are trying to say too, like, oh, the Jiricek trade is so bad because you traded the first this year, you're not gonna make the playoffs. Like, dude, the way the Wild were playing, if we stayed healthy, like there's no reason for the front office to be like, well, let's be careful in case we don't make the playoffs. Like you can't predict these injuries. Shit sucks. Like, I'm not trying to sit here and convince you that it's like sunshine and flowers, but like that's a stretch to get mad about losing the first, because I love the trade in general. So it's like, yeah, it sucks that it's gone this route and we're going to miss the playoffs potentially, but I don't think that's a reason to criticize the trade.
Oh, yeah. No.
So is what it is. Let's move on to like more positive things then, talking about not the current, but the future for the Minnesota Wild. A couple of guys that have been on heaters, and I guess Z, in honor of the Swedish prospects we're going to be talking about here shortly, for our good friends at MNW Prospects, MNW Young Guns, giving you guys the best prospect coverage on Facebook and Twitter /X, the everything platform. Let's talk Liam Ohgren first.
Yeah, I mean, he's been really, really good, especially lately. He's up to 14 goals, 14 assists in 29 games in Iowa this season. 2 goals and an assist, or 2 assists and a goal last night. Again, like some of the goals that he's scoring too are just nasty. But again, like it's so much better that he's just playing in Iowa, playing anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. top power play, all the offensive looks, first line versus like either doing the year check, sitting in the press box in Minnesota, or getting like 8 minutes of like zero power play time, no offensive looks. And of course, I tweeted the video last night of this goal, and like this is the point where like the Wild play really bad for a while, and it's not fun. It's just like then all of a sudden it comes in like the replies to like one good prospect become miserable, where it's like, oh, well, too bad he can't do this at 5v5 in the NHL. And I'm like, I think he has like 11 5-on-5 minutes ever. Like, of course, like people just can't be happy that he's doing well in the AHL. Like it was crazy that people were like, where was this in Minnesota? I was like, I don't know, when he was getting 6 minutes in the NHL. I don't know where this was, I guess. He's fine in Iowa. Like he's not, the key is where he needs to be. He's getting like he's developing. He's playing great. So, but he's just like, especially like yesterday that game, he was outstanding. And again, he's just under a point per game at this point. So, it's also impressive that he's not a minus overall. You know, especially on that team with how things have gone lately. But yeah, back-to-back games, 2 points and 3 points. So he's just been great. He's snuck in a couple 3-point games lately too. So he's just looking awesome.
Love that. Then we'll talk about arguably, like, I don't know. It's weird to say like favorite because I don't mean he's the best or anything. Like just everything about this player, Riley Heidt is probably my favorite prospect in the pool. Talk about how he's looked lately.
Yeah, real good, especially this week. He popped off again. Friday, goal, 2 assists for 3 points, first start of the game. And then Saturday, in a 5-3 win against Woodage, he puts up 4 assists, +2. Second start of the game. So he's up to 87 points in 58 games. A little off his like total from last year, but I mean, like Prince George lately has been really well. They propelled themselves to second or third in their division, which wasn't something I saw coming like 2 months ago. But again, leader of that team, looks dangerous every time he touches the puck, scores in a variety of ways, like very versatile offensively, and he doesn't sacrifice much in the back end either. Like he's on their penalty kill too. Like he's all over the ice. He plays like 26 minutes a night as a forward. So yeah, he's continued to just look great, even if the points aren't popping off like they did last year. Last year was just insane. He was over like an assist a game. Like that was just crazy. But either way, I mean, like again, like 7 points in the last 2 games. And he just like consistently looked very good all year long. On an interesting Prince George team, there are a couple. The WHL playoffs are gonna be fascinating. There's some like powerhouses that are going head to head. But yeah, no, Riley Height's he's been awesome.
Last one, just because they looked scary good this weekend for standard that we expected coming into the season, but Denver, we got a couple guys there. Both looked pretty good this weekend.
Yeah, that first game, so they played Colorado College. Lost the first game 3-1, didn't look great, and then games 2 and 3 they went off and scored. It was 6-3 on Saturday. It was like 7-3, 7-2 last night. Couple more goals and assists for Z Bulliam. Ricky Lorenz got in on the action. Denver looked terrified. Like when they're going like full tilt, they have the puck the whole game. The cycle is just nonstop. And like watching Z Bulliam just do whatever he wants with the puck on a string on the power play is like it's entrancing. Like you just like the way that he's able to move without losing control of the puck. The accuracy, the passes, like he's got a bomb of a shot too. Like so versatile in that power play, so fun to watch. I mean, like every night he's playing almost 30 minutes. Like, but when they're going and they're skating downhill, it's terrifying because like they've got like 15 guys that could score. Which is like everyone on the ice, like literally their whole lineup is capable of scoring. All 4 lines, all 3 deep pairs. It's terrifying. So they're going to be a problem again. But yeah, no, Denver, specifically Sunday was a complete shit kicking. Like it was like, I was surprised Colorado College had any like shot attempts at that point. Like the second and third period was just a murder. But they looked terrifying.
Nice. Any other prospects you feel like we need to hit before we transition to final segment here, talking Sweden? I guess it's weird to say your home stomping grounds when you've never and probably will never be there.
That's a good point. No, I don't think so. We can move on over.
All right, then. We are wrapping up here with 2025 NHL draft eligibles, focusing this week on the top 10 for Sweden, which, as mentioned, is the region that Z covers for Smart with an R scouting. Before we jump in on the first one here, Z, just in general, the sense I'm getting from you is that this year's crop from Sweden is notably better than what we saw in 2024. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say so. I mean, first of all, you do have a couple guys that are going to be going early on in the draft. Last year, the only player out of Sweden that got drafted in the first round was Norwegian. Bronsek Nygaard with 15th to Detroit, so it's like it was weird that he was technically a Swede. Like, well, again, we do these lists; it's out of Sweden, not just the fact that they're Swedish.
Wait, what? Am I confusing draft years? Who was the top 3 last year?
Last year was there was Snedeky went 3rd. It was that crazy like.
So I am off. I don't know why I thought Leo Carlson was last year.
No, that was 2 years ago. Celebrini went first this year.
Yeah, him and Seneca couldn't have both been in the same one. So yeah, I'm just dumb. Cool.
Yeah, this is the Celebrini draft.
Before we jump in here, Max Veach. Speaking of Sweden, I'm not even sure the current iteration of this team, being the Minnesota Wild, would win the SHL or Liga. Ouch. I won't argue, but ouch. Ugh. All right, Z, let's kick in then with your number 1, which this one threw Mateo for a loop when he was setting these up, which shout out to producer Mateo for putting together some awesome graphics for us. First guy on your list of top 10 Swedes in this year's draft, Viktor Eklund, brother of Slippery Pete out in San Jose.
Yeah, so I've done pretty back and forth, especially lately. So I mean, the top 2 Swedes this year play on the same team. They're on the same line quite often. But Viktor Eklund's just been doing this all year. Like, I mean, he's producing like 0.75 points per game, and he's got a bomb of a shot. He plays a good 2-way game for such a small player. Like, he's unbelievably physical he hits legitimately everything that moves. But the thing for me that's just like the separator between him and the next guy, like this shift specifically, the pace that he can play at is like ridiculous. Like, he dictates the game when he's on the ice and he has the puck on his stick. Like, he's going to retrieve loose pucks, win them back. He's deceptive. He can pass again. He can score. Like, he plays at a different rate than Frondell, who, I mean, this is actually Frondell scoring this goal, but the whole shift, like, it's just Eklund just flying around the offensive zone with the puck, but like he plays with a pace that the separator for me when you talk about like him versus Anton Frondell. But again, he's going to play both sides. He primarily plays left wing right now for Djurgården, but like what he's doing at the Allsvenskan level is something we haven't seen in a long time. Now, Frondell's also on a tear right now too. But like, again, for me, it's just been so consistent with Eklund all year. And there's been so many of the goals that get scored for Djurgården, like he's setting up. Like, again, he's a factor in all 3 zones. He kills penalties. He's on their power play. Like, he's one of the best all-around forwards in the Allsvenskan right now as a 17-year-old. So he's just unbelievably impressive. But like for me, again, the big separator is just the pace that he can play at. It's ridiculous. Sure.
And for him, with a lot of these players, like, we won't go too far into the weeds, but talk ceiling floor for me. Like, is this guy this high for you because his floor is just so high, or is it because of the upside, or is it a balance?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got a high floor, but like when you just look at the point totals, like there's not very many players who can do this in this league at his age that don't translate to like a very successful NHL career where he's going to produce points. Like he is like a pretty dynamic offensive threat. So I still think there's a legit ceiling on him. But again, yeah, he definitely does have a pretty high floor, just with the style of play. If he can get like a little bigger and stronger, then that's just like a whole other can of work. Like that's a whole other like level that he could possibly hit. But I mean, again, like even at his size now, like the physicality he plays with, I don't know if he'll be able to do it in the NHL, but like it's like he is not afraid right now at his size, so it's not a problem. But I do like the upside, and he does, yeah, definitely have that high floor too. So it's a combination of both.
Would you say if you had to handicap it now, 7 years from today, who's better, Slippery Pete or little brother Victor? And you don't have to necessarily base it on like how his brother has played in the NHL so far, like based on their draft profiles, like which guy were you more excited about in theory?
That's pretty close. I really liked his brother too. Maybe just a recency bias thing, probably Victor. But if I went back and started watching old William Eklund, like the clips I used to have, I'd probably be like, oh fuck. It's probably whoever I've just like watched more recently, so that's why I'll probably say Victor right now. But like again, like 31 points in 42 offensive games as a 17-year-old is legitimately unbelievable. Like that is difficult, but yeah.
All right, reasonable. We'll move on then to number 2 of your top 10 Swedes. Aforementioned Anton Frondell. Go off.
Yeah, and I mean, the way that he's played the last 10, 12 games, he could make this look silly. I mean, this is a guy that's potentially going to be, I think, like, when all is said and done and the draft actually happens, he will probably go higher. Like, he's got a longer pedigree. Like, we've watched him play at a really high level for, like, longer than Eklund. But it's just been fast. Like, they've played on the same team, same line for, like, several years. But Frondell obviously had some injury problems last year and coming into this year. Got off to like a really slow start. But his last 10, 12 games, I think he's got like, I think maybe 15 points. He had a couple 3-point games mixed in there. Another guy, he's got a really fucking dangerous shot that he's got like the one-timer. He can also pull and drag. He's deceptive with that shot too. Plays more of like a north-south game without like a ton of pace. So that's the big, again, when I mentioned Eklund, like for me, the separator was the fact that he can play at a different pace than Frondell. But I mean, like some of these clips here where he's just entering the zone and he can cut to the middle and score. Like he is very funny. Just again, like the only thing that like makes me pause as far as like trying to feel confident in the projection is just the fact that he doesn't play at the quickest pace possible. So I could see him potentially ending up like, you know, middle to bottom 6 guy. But he has that legit upside. And I do think the floor for him is still high enough where it's like he's going to be an NHL player and he's going to be an effective one. I just like, again, when you compare him and Eklund and their styles and how they kind of approach the game, I just think there's more transferability for Eklund's game than Frondell. But I mean, what he's doing right now is ridiculous. Like he's going like SportsCenter top 10 mode almost every game. First playoff game yesterday, he scores in overtime, also has an assist. Eklund had 2 assists that game. They're really fun to watch. They factor in on a lot of each other's goals. Like that one right there, that stretch pass was Eklund, and then Frondell followed up and like for a tap in. But they're on the ice together like 80% of the time. It's very fun. But yeah, for me, the thing that's the big separator is at that pace.
Do we need a team to just go full Brian Burke and find a way to bring both in together? Is that the move?
Yes.
Okay, let's just go full sicko mode here. San Jose Sharks miss out on first overall and don't get Schaefer. Decide they're going to trade back and get 2 early picks somehow. I don't know how that's going to work out because I don't even know what the draft order is going to be and who's traded their picks away, but they bring in Frondell and Baby Eklund. How cool would that be?
That would rule. I would be all in. I'd move to San Jose.
That's really expensive. I don't know if you know. That's more expensive than Boston.
No, Boston's number one. We're official.
No.
Yep, it's official.
Have you heard of Vancouver Island?
The U.S.
Couldn't help myself. Now, the only other question I have on Frondell is he a no shit NHL center? Or
that's another question too. I think
8?
so. I do think so. Like it's fascinating to watch him and Eklund together on the ice because Frondell looks like he's 6'3", 6'4". It's just because he's heavier. Like I think he's half an inch taller than Eklund, and Eklund looks like he's like 2 feet shorter than Frondell. Like it's weird, but like Frondell, he just looks bigger. Again, it's because he's almost 200 pounds at 6 foot, and he's just strong. And has no problem getting to the middle of the ice. So yeah, no, I do think at the NHL level, I think he's gonna end up playing a center role. Like that's the other thing too with Eklund. There's more like playing on the wing. Like yeah, you could see that top six like winger no problem. Top six center is like a different beast, but at the same time, if they both have really high ceilings, you could take the center versus wing argument. Like it's just these two, I flip flop on them at this point, especially just given how much of a tear Frondell's been on lately. But I do think in the NHL level, he ends up playing center.
Okay, very fair. Moving on then to number 3 for your top 10 Swedes in the draft, we have Milton Gastrin, which I don't know. Milton is like the weirdest like old man name to me.
Yeah. So and we were talking before I fucked up the order. I put 10 names down earlier this weekend, so like I'd probably have him.
Wow, he's already doubling back on it. You'd have him at you're dropping him 2 spots. Hurtful.
Well, these 3 specifically, I could like depending on what day you ask me, I'm going to give you a different answer. But no, but Milton Gastrin, he's 6'1", a little under 200 pounds, center, like pretty legit skills. Another guy, I just think he plays a transferable game to the NHL. Like very reliable, and like again, like every once in a while I see him really expose some of his offensive upside. He also like he doesn't look like his ability to change pace is ridiculous. Like he looks like he'll be skating through mud and all of a sudden he can just hit the jets. And like the change of speed with the puck is like just miserable for like when he splits the D. Like he is very deceptive when he's like in transition. Again, he scores a variety of ways. He's got a really nice shot, legit skill. But he's such a smart player, like positionally sound. So I like him a lot. Depending on who you ask, I feel like at this point there's enough people that like have him in their first round. I think it's just like again, I think he plays such a transferable style and he's so smart. And every once in a while you do see him like some of the points that he's put up this year, you do see that like separator as far as like the skill set goes. But so I think he probably ends up going in the first round, late first round. But yeah, no, I like him a lot. He's fun.
Okay. And again, I'll ask the question that I'll probably ask for anyone listed as center. Is he a center in the NHL?
Yeah, I think he's really smart. He's got the size. He's physical. And again, like very capable of gaining middle ice. So yeah, I think he ends up playing center.
Okay. Well, that will move on to number 4, which we'll find out, I guess, if he's 3, 4, or 5, based on the most updated versions of Z's rankings. Jakob Ihs-Wozniak will definitely be discussed in our extensive segment that we refer to as the all-name team going into the draft. First, where do you actually have him ranked?
4. It's 3 and 5 that I flipped, I think.
Oh, okay. Got it. So he's actually 4. So perfect. So you can just erase everything that I just said. So talk about him. What do we need to know about Jakob Ihs-Wozniak?
He is a player that if you're going to take him in the first round, you're going to be nervous because his give a shit meter is like -12, 50% of the time. Like when you look at a player with this absolute like weapon of an offensive skill set, specifically the ability to score from distance, he moves as well as he moves at his size. He's 6'3". just an absolute sniper. He's capable of playing physical, but like he really just does. Like there's so many nights where he just leaves you so frustrated. Just like I've had games where I actually just like I stopped watching. Like it's like infuriating at times. But it's like if he really feels like it, he's gonna be a guy he's capable of scoring 35, 40 goals a year. It's just like, is the mindset there? I don't know. And like there are games that you watch him playing, you're like, all right, like I don't know about the hockey IQ, but then there's other times where he's like where he finds himself on the ice, his ability to find quiet areas and like get the shot off is very impressive. And even like I mean, this is his first assist in the SHL this year. It was just a no look, like backhand, like reverse, like it was ridiculous. Like he's got a ton of skills. It's just whether or not he feels like hitting his full potential. It's going to be a big question. So I think he's a player that probably makes you nervous and like in all likelihood doesn't hit his total upside, but it's going to be tough to pass on his profile, like how good he is, what he brings to the table as far as a skill set and his ability to score goals, and what he's done at his age. I think it was like last year, he just like shattered the scoring record for a kid that was under like a 16-year-old playing in the U20 in Sweden. He had like 65, 70 points in 30 something games. And started off the year horrible. Like again, I turned a couple games off because it was so frustrating to watch. Like you forget he's on the ice somehow sometimes, but like he definitely picked it up as the years gone on. And again, like there are very few players, especially out of this region, that can score like he does. So again, this is a guy that had like top 10 potential coming into the year. Now it's like, is he going to go in the first round? I think he's probably still does. Maybe not though, because I mean, even like when you look at like Bob McKenzie and Craig Button's rankings, I think they actually both have him out. So we'll see what happens with him. But like the upside is there, the potential's there, just whether or not he actually hits it.
Based on your tier, you've barely got him in.
Yeah, it's just because for me, it's just like I don't like watching him, especially this year. But even like dating back a little bit last year, it's like whether he wants to turn it on or not, like there's been so few games where he just like actually does it that you're like just so frustrated. So I think if you take it the first round, you're probably nervous, but there's so much upside there that you kind of like have to do it at some point, depending on what team you are.
This just screams the San Jose Sharks second round pick in like the mid 30s.
Yeah, I will say like if he doesn't go in the first round, I'll be shocked if he makes it past like 40.
Yeah.
I mean, if he does, then it's like
30 to 45. I don't know.
If he does go like towards the end of the second round or later, then I would imagine that you're going to hear comments about like an attitude thing. Because there's just like the ability is terrifying. Like he is that good. It's just like you see it. So it's like, it's also fascinating because like in 40 games, he has 57 points. Like playing U20, that's you're like, as it's just a pure scoring winger. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see where he goes. But again, like top 10, top 15 upside. It's just whether or not he actually ends up putting it all together at the NHL level. You know, we'll see. The very real chance that he's like a tweener because he's like, he just doesn't put it together.
All right. Moving on to number 5 then. We have Eric Nilson.
So this is the guy that like it was specifically after putting these video clips together that like I think this is gonna be he's gonna be in my top 5 for like draft sons. Eric Nilson is fascinating. Firstly, he's a center that wears number 3 with his club team, which is always fascinating. He's just usually like a defenseman. And then like he covers for the D-men a lot. So there are times where he's just like at the point where you're like, is there another Eric Nilson? That's like it's confusing. Looks like a defenseman. But he's got some good height. He's super light, but he is so fun to watch. He's going to end up being one of my draft sons. Another guy that can just like turn on the jets and hit like his 0 to 60 speed is like ridiculous. There are a lot of, especially when he's playing for his club and sometimes even his country too, like they'll just drop the puck off behind their net and he'll come pick it up at like in motion. And I mean, he's transporting the puck. He also has like a really nice stretch pass. Like he is just unbelievably smart. He wins like every battle along the boards, establishes possession, takes middle ice. He's got a really good shot. Like I really like this player a lot. I think I would definitely take it, and I think I probably fucked up the tier, to be honest with you. after watching like all of his clips from this year the other day, like I would take him like late first for sure. Whether or not he does, I hope probably not. And I understand like the some trepidation there, but like just a smart player, super cerebral. Again, like really, really good skater. He's light and he's getting a little bit stronger, but even then he's still winning all these battles. But I like Eric Nilson a lot. He's one of my favorites to watch in this draft class. And it's just like I just think he's an unbelievably smart player. And again, like he's got the separation of like the speed. It's a joke. I love watching him play though. Like that stretch pass was just sick. Oh god, he's really good. I like the clips. I just like it's so fun to watch him play. Like I love players with his style. So
okay,
we'll see.
Like, is there another player that you feel like has a similar style for people that like just don't understand?
I mean, in the NHL now, I can't like I would be
okay. No worries. I just thought I'd ask in case like you had a type, you know.
Well, like it was like 2 years ago, draft sod Oscar Fisker Molgard. It was like similar type vibe, but
who pick between Nilson and Molgard?
I'd probably stick with Molgard because he was just my boy. But
I was gonna say if you had said different, I would have called you a liar. So that's good. Question I always ask: is he a center?
I think he may end up on the wing, especially if he doesn't just like fill out. Like I mean, he's 150 something pounds right now. But again, like a lot of that offense does go through him, and he's playing the middle of the ice there. So we'll see. But like I think in all reality, he may end up being a winger. But yeah, no, I mean, even if he does, I think that's fine. Like he controls the play a lot from the wings too. Like especially when he's like lugging the puck. When he takes guys wide, like he's winning. Like it's crazy.
All right. Let's move on then. And I believe this is the end of the highlight reel packages we put together. So the rest of them, we're just going to talk and show you cool graphic that Mateo built. Number 6, Eddie. Is it Genborg? Genborg,
I think.
Genborg. Eddie Genborg.
Yeah, pretty intriguing player. Just plays such an NHL style. Whereas, like, yeah, every once in a while he'll make a couple of like pretty high skill plays. He can score, but like the way that he scores, like he's so good in front of the net. Really strong. Obviously, he's got the size 6'2", 190. And he's played a good amount of SHL games this year and fit in more than fine. Looks pretty comfortable playing pro in Sweden already. Like he's a decent enough skater, not like gonna blow you away with his speed, but just his style of play where he's really strong, like always in the right spots on the ice. Ability to read the defense as well. And he's so just like if he gets the puck in front of the net, like he's going to score, like he just is. So he makes himself especially useful in the power play too, but does have a really good two-way game. I think Button has him in the first round for him. But again, for him, I think he's a player that's probably not going to take a whole lot of time to adjust and end up playing in the NHL. He's going to be one of those guys that might gets taken like maybe second, third round, but probably finds his way to the NHL sooner rather than later, or at least sooner than a lot of the other prospects. But I think his style just lends itself to the NHL. And again, he's got the size, really smart. He's like his positional awareness is just solid. So really good player.
Solid. Moving on to number 7. Arvid Drott.
Sneaky great name.
It's a very interesting name. It kind of like confused me a couple of times thinking like, wait, I don't know why, but like the one that makes 0 sense, I kept on thinking Jason Arnott.
It's just the odd. It's literally just the odd.
It's no, like literally get rid of vid and dr and it's Arot. It's close enough. Again, my brain does weird things. I take no responsibility for it.
Yeah, Arvid Drott's a fascinating one. He's got decent size, right shot, right winger. I mean, what's he actually? You pull it right 6'1", 190. It's got a legit motor. He flies up the ice. He does play that physical power forward game. He's got some legit skill. This is just like another guy I could potentially see getting some first round looks when you just like the play style, how physical he is, his ability to score. And I mean, it's just like a really good skater. He plays more of like that north-south power forward game. He's got 18 and 18 in 36 games. So I probably see a lot of time, like a lot of teams like having a lot of time for a player like Arvid Drott, and I think there's some like room for him to grow. But another guy that I think NHL scouts are going to love when they like the size skill package and the fact that he plays such a straightforward north-south physical game. And he does have a legit dangerous shot. So I like Arvid Drott a lot. I'm just trying to figure out what he ends up being in the NHL. Is he going to be a guy that's going to be in your middle six that can score? Can he potentially be a first or like a top six scoring option? For me, I just think his game's a little bit more of like the simple north-south, probably a middle six scoring guy. Again, that like could probably potentially give you some two-way value too, but like he is explosive as far as speed goes. He does have that shot. It's a little bit inconsistent, obviously, just given the fact that like you probably should be producing more than like a point per game, like U20 in Sweden. But I mean that Djurgården team, like it's tough for all these guys to get the puck. Like they're loaded again that they are every year. Like especially the U20 team, like half of this list is Djurgården. So but he's a fun player. I would not be shocked if this is someone that an NHL team, if they have like 2 first-round picks or something, maybe they take a swing at him. So I think there's some legit. So I think it's just there's a wide range of outcomes for him. I think so. We'll see. But I like him. I like him.
There we go. On to number 8. Gustav Hillstrom, center in J20 National. What do we need to know?
Yeah, I have like so we did our smart scouting midterm rankings or whatever. I do have a soft spot for Hillstrom. I mean, like another guy who's got pretty good size, two-way center, decent enough playmaker, but like I think he's super smart and I like how he moves. He's never like he does have some like playmaking ability. He's got some skill. I don't ever see him being like a point per game guy or even like, 65 point per year. But I do think he just like profiles as like a really good 3C that gives you that two-way ability. Decently physical. He's just like, I just really like another guy that I really like the way that he plays, like super reliable, always makes the right decisions, always in the right areas. Again, he has that legit two-way ability. So I think he can get another guy that plays a super transferable, translatable style to the NHL. And I just really like him. Like his play style, and like he plays for Breenis. Their J20 team has a bunch of guys that I really like for this year, next year with the draft. But I just again another guy that plays such a NHL style two-way game at the center position that I really like. So I love Hillstrom. It's just I don't know about like just how much upside there is there, but I think he ends up being a really solid middle six center in the NHL. Just based on how the fact that he is so smart gives you that two-way ability.
Look at that. You already answered my question. He is going to be a center. Love that. On to number 9. Melvin Novotny.
Yeah, really, really interesting one. Because, I mean, this is another guy like, I think in our initial rankings of Smart Scan, we ended up having like 17. And now he's like at the end of our second round. So hit or miss. The beginning of the year, he had a few games where he was just like all out offense, all over the ice, just ripping pucks. But he's just so inconsistent that he makes you nervous. Fun fact, I mean, he's number 68, but like I forget what the issue with the jersey was. He had to wear 69 one game, so that automatically gave him like a 5-spot bump in my books for me personally. But like all offense from the perimeter, he's got a really good shot. There's never a questioning like his effort level. Like he is flying around the ice. He's pretty physical, but if he becomes a full-time NHL guy, he's got some legit upside, just like the offensive ability, but it's a pretty wide range of outcomes for him. Is he going to be like an AHL player? Decent chance that's like the route it goes, but pretty intriguing to watch. When he's on, he is fun. And he can score from distance, but for me, I'd take a swing on him maybe second, third round because there is some ability there, room for him to grow. But yeah, another fun player. but pretty big range of outcomes for him. Whether or not it becomes like a full-time impactful NHL guy, probably hit or miss.
All right. Well, the ever important number 10 ranking, because you have a pretty long list of honorable mentions. 10 to wrap up the top 10 list. Viktor Klingsell, which I love this name, especially just like, Eklund, the VIKTOR. Elite.
Mm-hmm. Viktor Klingsell, he's a really fun player. He always plays really, really well with Team Sweden. Like, legit offensive upside. Like, he's on the smaller side, but like he's heavy and he's really strong. But like an absolute sniper, playmaker. Like the hands he creates, shot lanes, passing lanes. Like he is in the offense as well, especially in the power play. Like that offense runs through him, especially in Skellefteå this year. He's gotten some looks in the SHL, look pretty good. But, if he becomes a full-time impactful NHL player, it's like he's got a top 6 game, and I don't know. Or plays on like a third line where he can be just like the pure scoring option. That's going to be his route. Again, a wide range of outcomes where it's like he's got legit NHL upside as far as skill, the shot, and like the way he can manipulate in the offensive zone. It's just not the most well-rounded game all around, obviously, but really intriguing player. And again, like when you watch him with Team Sweden, he just rips it up. So he's a really fun player to watch. But again, just like with his style, it's like you can get a lot of those guys in the NHL. So whether or not he becomes a full-time, impactful scoring winger at the next level, we'll see. But he's really fun to watch. So I like Viktor Klingsell a lot. Probably a late second, third, fourth round guy. Just plenty of guys with that skill set, I guess. But
yeah, and just a note for everyone, because you've got these draft tiers, like based on your tiers, you've got all these guys going in the first 2 rounds. Like obviously there's some that are going to fall out and it's going to come down to team preference, especially when you get past the first round. But largely you view this top 10 list as all being first and second round talent more or less, right?
Yeah, I think so last year, we talked about before, like Bronseg Nygaard, the Norwegian kid, but out of Sweden. So he's a Swedish prospect. Like he goes at 15. And then you saw like rounds 2, 3, 4, there was a long run on Swedes. And I think there's a decent chance it happens again where you've got like Eklund and Frondell are going to go real early. We'll see if there's a couple other guys that end up getting taken in that first round. Like a guy like Milton Gastrin, like Ihs-Wozniak, like Nilson or Drott. There's a chance that they go in the first round, just depending on which team, like their preferences. But I think like early, mid, there's a chance. There's a good amount of guys out of Sweden that go in the second round. Like I have a funny feeling rounds 2 and 3 is gonna be a lot of Swedes that get taken. It's just like, there's guys like you see the flashes of the upside, but maybe go for the home run swing somewhere else. But it's just one of those interesting years for Sweden. Next year, off the top of my head, there's a couple that are gonna like that are legit challenging for whatever top 5. So
nice.
Next year,
this top 10 group though, like there's going to be some steals here that fall late second, third, maybe even fourth. And those are the guys that when a team grabs them, you're going to be like, oh, you guys got a dog. All right. We don't need to talk about every guy here because that'd be insane, but just high level honorable mentions. No need to see us, but honorable mentions here. We've got Viggo Nordlund, left wing from Skellefteå. Michael what the fuck? This is breaking my brain. I don't even know what he would do with this. Michael S., center from Venus. We got Zeb Lindgren, left-handed defenseman. Max Westergaard, left wing. Carl Anborn, right-handed defenseman. Michael Mikkel, don't know. Eriksson, center, Färjestad, and Malte Vass, great name, left-handed defenseman from Färjestad as well. Z, who do you want to like highlight or focus on here, or is there anyone that you like? Maybe you just want to move past it and say we've acknowledged them now.
Yeah, I mean, so specific, like a couple of guys here. Viggo Nordlund is such a fun player to watch, but he is tiny. Like he's like 5. If he's actually 5'9", I'd be shocked to be honest with you. He's listed at 5'9", 170. But like offensively, he is so far advanced versus like almost every other guy out of this region. Like with the puck on his stick, he is so much fun to watch. So like as far as like watchability goes, he's a top 5 in this region. It's just whether or not he ends up going any. Like I think he does get drafted because he is that legit. But I mean, there are a couple of guys last year too. Like Alexander Zetterberg last year didn't get drafted out of Sweden. That was like shocking. And I think at some point we're gonna do like an overager or like a draft with like this. They were eligible at years past. We could probably have a couple guys or a bunch of guys. Actually, they're gonna go like I think this draft there's gonna be a bunch of guys that are technically overages that are gonna go earlier than we're used to seeing. Like a couple out of Sweden, like Yamiro Raybear. This kid like could potentially go like second round. I was really shocked he didn't get drafted last year, but so we'll see if like Norland does get drafted because I mean like it's like a similar thing with Zetterberg last year. It's like ultra skilled and like to the point where you kind of like just see past the size issue. But he's really fun to watch. Like I love watching him. He's played like 10, 15 games in the SHL this year too. He's looked really good. So that'll be interesting. Mr. S, Michael Servek. He's also really fun to watch.
There's no way that's pronounced Servek.
That's how we were pronouncing it in our fucking midterm rankings.
I'm calling him Shrek.
Yeah, all right, that works. Another guy who like he flashes a ton of skill and he's pretty fun to watch. We'll see. I think he does end up getting drafted. The fact that he's a center, he plays like a center too. So he's fun to watch. The guys that I would imagine go earlier than I would anticipate. There are a couple here. Zeb Lindgren, left-hand D out of Skellefteå. He's a big 6'2", just under 200 pounds guy that like he does not going to give you a ton of offense, but every once in a while he flash a little bit. But he's so good defensively. He's really physical. He's a prick to play against. So I think teams are really going to like him. And it's also not something where I'd be like, oh, of course they take like the big left shot D-man who's like physical or whatever. Like he is a legit player. He's a really also skates really well for his size, so he's really fun to watch. And then Malte Voss is a similar thing. He is physical as fuck. He's not like the biggest dude in the world, but like he's like 6'1", 180. But like when you watch him play, like he looks like he at least plays like he's like 6'3", 6'4". I'd imagine he probably goes earlier than I would take him, but also a pretty fun player, great name, like you said.
Low key all name team guy for sure.
Yeah. And I think one of the guys on this list that's going to play a really long time in this league, be a really reliable, shutdown defensive defenseman. You'll never hear his name, but whatever team drafts him, whenever he makes the NHL, he's going to play forever. Is Carl Anborn. He's got some actually like some decent points this year, but if he makes the NHL, which I think he will, he is going to be a shutdown defensive D-man. He's going to play for a long time, and you'll never hear his name unless he gets drafted by like your team. But I like just the reliability. Like he plays like a quiet but super effective game, shutdown defensive role. Played some pro hockey already, looks really good. So I think it's not going to take him a whole lot of time to adjust the NHL as well. So we could potentially even, assuming all goes well, you could potentially even see him playing the NHL sooner rather than later. It's just one of those. It's always interesting too. It's like he plays such a quiet game. You almost wonder. It's like, do you think teams know about him? Like it's like one of those things. But like, I do think he ends up playing a long time in the NHL. And he's just like a reliable 4-5. Max Vestergaard, by the way, is Finnish. He's one of those. He's like he came over like 2 years ago. So it's like I think his youth team was Pelicans, where Kumpalainen is from. They're from the same place.
Nice.
Fun fact.
There you go. Well, all right. That rounds out the Swedish top 10. Will be coming every week now, more or less, with the top ranked prospects for different regions or leagues. Next week, I believe we're targeting Finland, but stay tuned. Otherwise, Z, I think that does it. I think we've wrapped it up here.
There are a couple guys that we didn't bring up that I should just at least say their names. So I think you'll really like them.
Say their names.
Philip with an F, Holst Person, Mons Goose. Okay, here we go. I don't even know. This is gonna be tough. Mads Kongsback Clevo.
Let's come back, Clevo.
Tinas Luke Koblar, but I had to say Koblar.
Nah, Cobbler and Person are both great polls.
Carl Otto Magnuson, Bruno Osmanis, Oliver with a W, Sjostrom, and there's 2 Leo Sundqvists. Different position, different teams, very different style, same name.
The next Elias Pettersson's.
And then there was one other one that makes me laugh. Oh, I don't even know how I feel about this one. Noel Scarby. I don't know why it makes me laugh every time, but it does.
Maybe I had to see
last one, though. Last year, I should have put him in the I bet that guy's cool category. Voltaire Lindbergh. Specifically Voltaire.
Voltaire's pretty good.
Yeah, that's all. I just had to mention those names for you.
What a way to wrap it. Appreciate y'all tuning in this Wednesday.
There's a goalie named Love. Love Hardston.
You know, in tennis.
Actually, should have put him in the honorable mention. I didn't think about
it. Love is 0 in tennis. So, like, that's a great goalie name.
Terrence knew. It was like a goalie.
Oh, fuck. Well, everyone tune in Wednesday. Full out mailbag with Joe Smith on Fellowship of the Rink. Tune in next week to JuddzBudz for the Finnish rankings and probably more depressed Minnesota Wild talk. Until then, who all see a leprechaun in the tree? Say yeah.
Yeah. I want to go. I want to go.
I got this flute from thousands of years ago from my great grandfather.
That part is.
This flute wears off leprechaun spells. And it's funny. The first time I listened to that, I didn't give any credence to like the time frame because I was just like fascinated by what he was saying. But someone's like, "Your great grandfather wouldn't be thousands of years ago. Your great 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 grandfather wouldn't be thousands of years ago. Like hundreds, maybe." Like, just crazy. But yes, my buddy found a leprechaun statue and a replica leprechaun flute. Like it looks just like the one from that video. A house party, and well, he was a bit of a klepto. Like he wouldn't steal anything that mattered. He wouldn't go to a store and steal. But like if you had something cool, he was gonna steal it and bring it back to our room and add it to the shrine. So, shout out Tyler, who was the best drunk klepto out there, and we got a leprechaun flute out of it.
Shout out Tyler. You're kind of a piece of shit, but in the best way possible.
Damn. Yeah. All right. Fair. All right. We'll catch you all next week. Peace.